What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you an interesting video today. And I say interesting because this is the second time I've recorded this video in about 3 hours. We get to the middle of the video, I'll explain. But for now, this video is going to cover the CDL V1 Ruleset, which was released this afternoon. And then kinda a V1.1 was released about 20 minutes ago. So let me explain and walk through it. As you can see here is the Challengers Cup coming up this weekend. So on the league side, it was coming to about time to get a V1 Ruleset so they would have something to play this weekend for that tournament. A lot of the chatter kind of in the weeks prior was that this was going to happen on Monday. So everybody was kind of expecting it to come out today. And so it dropped, and we'll get to what it looks like in a second, but I want to give you kind of the history of sort of what's going on at the moment. So they released it at about like 5 p.m. Eastern, and this was the map set that was actually in it. You'll notice that Hotel and Crown Raceway are not listed. And this was kind of expected over some chatter over the weekend that there's some issues with the maps. And as you see this sort of Jacob Hale tweet, there's a question of whatever the issues are here. And so I recorded a video kind of summarizing my thoughts, kind of talking about how it's kind of unfortunate. The map choices are a little bit funky. Went to go eat dinner, by the way, after I recorded this video. And then about, I'm recording this at about 9 p.m., about an hour ago, this dropped. But there was an update to the Ruleset here, 1.1, with an updated map set. Obviously jokes from Spencer that he was stayed up late playing GBs and uploaded the wrong set. Funny cover from Spence. And so after much ado over the last few hours, this is the set that we have to play coming up this weekend in the Challengers Cup. And I assume maybe a couple of teams between now and Major 1. So let's talk about it. So first off, let's talk about the maps. We are going into this with 5 S&D maps, 5 hardpoint maps, and 3 control maps. First off, that's a W over last year. And let me explain why. So when it comes to hardpoint vetoes, when you have 4 maps, Team A bans 1 map, Team B bans another map, and there's only 2 maps left, so you're just picking sides. What's going to happen now with 5 maps when we have a veto process is it's going to leave 3 maps over when each team bans 1 map. So it becomes this interesting game of chicken if a map is sort of left in there, assuming that neither team wants to play it, or if a team's got a deeper map pool and doesn't care. There's a little bit more mind games and kind of a onus on having a deeper map pool with 5 maps. So I really like it. So let's talk about the 5 maps we have in both S&D and Hardpoint. Starting with S&D, we've got Fortress, Hotel, El Estelio, Embassy, and Mercado. Honestly, not that bad of a set. Mercado plays pretty solid. Same with Hotel and El Estelio. Fortress, S&D, and Embassy are not too bad either. It's not our worst starting S&D set, to be honest. Obviously, I think Crown's actually a pretty good S&D map, Crown Raceway, but unfortunately for reasons I'm not quite sure of, it's not in this map set. It's not the worst kind of starting S&D set that we could have gotten. On the hardpoint side, a similar map set with a couple of more tweaks. Fortress, Hotel, Embassy, Mercado, and Hydroelectric. So Fortress, solid hardpoint map, pretty straightforward, kind of, it's not even really it's kind of a 3-lane map, but it sort of really is like 2 lanes. And honestly, a lot of these maps are kind of like some version of a 3-lane map, and it's something that intersects all 3 lanes. It's almost, I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, Hotel, solid, really good map. I like how the hardpoints are set up. I think it's going to play well in this and really in all 3 game modes that's in. MNC hardpoint, I think not a lot of people like it. I'm a little bit mixed on it as well. Super rotation heavy right now. We'll see how it develops over the next couple of weeks, but you can get kind of blown out on this map pretty easily if you're not kind of playing the right way. We'll see a lot of people drop bombs in this one. I think if you're like a really good AR player, you can drop 40 plus on this one in a real long game. Mercado's solid. It has way too many hills, and I think before Major 1, we need to reduce some of those hills on the map. If we do that, it's actually a pretty fun map, and I think people kind of figured out some of the spawn logic on it. There is some sort of funkiness. How the spawn out logic works at times on this map, but it's not the worst. It's going to play pretty fast paced, but not like Bocage fast, to be honest. And last we have Hydroelectric, and I'm a little 50-50 on this map. If there was no water on this map, I think it's a pretty solid, cool 3-lane map. Unfortunately, the water adds a sort of weird kind of underground sort of tunnel dynamic. So we'll see how it develops in scrims, but it's not one of our stronger hardpoint maps. Honestly, if you had the set, you took out Hydroelectric for Crown Raceway, it's probably one of the best starting hardpoint sets we've ever had in CDL or CWL. I'm being straight up on that, by the way. Like we've had some bad sets even during the CDL era. This really isn't that bad now that we have Hotel back in the mix. I think teams probably are going to not want to play a lot of Hydro. You're going to see probably a lot of Fortress and Hotel in some of the early series. Curious to see what happens in the Cup this weekend when we see some amateur teams playing. And lastly, we have Control, Fortress, Hotel, and El Estelio. Fortress Control's kind of odd. I think it is a little bit funky on the offensive side because you can really get spawn traps pretty badly. So this kind of reminds me a lot of like Garrison in the beginning, but if Garrison was a little bit smaller. So I'm kind of jury still out if this is a really good control map. I think Hotel plays pretty good in terms of the placement of the control maps. There's some good space on being able to rotate too. We'll see if teams kind of try and do some split breaks. Again, I think this is sort of a fun control map. It doesn't play too bad. And last on El Asilio, the control placements on this one are a little bit funky, and I wonder if maybe we can change them around a bit. Like one of the control points is a giant courtyard. So we'll see in practice again with like weeks and weeks of practice sort of how these maps shape out. But a little bit, I would say, of the sort of three modes here. I think one of the maps is really good for control, but Fortress El Asilio is kind of jury still out on whether or not both those are like extremely viable long term. So look, I think my final assessment of the map pool is it could have been a lot worse, like where we start today with that original set. Like we could have been playing like this one where Farm 18 was an S&D map. We had Embassy and Mercado control. Like we dodged a bullet on this one with the 5, 5, and 3. So I'm happy. It's not a bad V1. It's not the worst V1 we've ever seen in terms of maps. In the last 3 hours since I recorded the first version of this video and now recording this one, they've improved it quite a bit. I think on the rule set front, nothing really super major. I think the only thing to watch is whether or not people want to discuss how we changed sort of the max health situation. I thought Hitch right here had a really good tweet about potentially trying out 130 health, bringing the ultimate perk in for your field upgrade so you can run 2 with overclock, and upping the charge rate so people get dead silence faster, they can get their trophies faster. It's an idea. I wonder if it works. I think part of the thought process too is it gets rid of the sort of headshot multiplier issue with the game right now. Why TTK feels so high, because when you get those upper body headshots, you just get melted. So we'll see. I think it really comes down to pro teams if they want to try it. Seems like people are a little bit of resistance right now, but I like the idea from Davis to potentially explore to see if it is viable or not. So look, I think my final thoughts are instant react based on the last 3 hours is at 5 p.m. Eastern time, the video I made was going to be very pessimistic and very negative and basically be like, yo, we really need like to figure out this hotel and raceway situation. I think where I'm at now is it's not the worst set. I think some of these maps don't need to be tweaked. Mercado, for example, needs quite a few hardpoint hills removed because I think there's too many. I do think we need a couple of new maps, and I think we need to figure out how to get raceway in the mix. But if we can do that, I actually think this has got a really good map set for a competitive year. So a nice start. Let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks as amateur teams start to play. We'll see if sort of the base settings, especially with sort of the weapon restrictions that don't include all the GA stuff, how that plays in the actual cup tournament, but not the worst start for the CDL. So excited to see what happens over the next couple of days. Since y'all probably joined me on the journey over the last few hours, and this video will probably come out, right after I record it. Let me know in the comments what you guys have thought this whole journey, what you think of the rule set, what changes you'd like to make. As always, if you like the content, smash that like button, subscribe for more. Excited to provide more coverage of the cups over the next couple of days, so be on the lookout for that. As always, guys, we'll see you in the next video.